Hi everyone, it's Gus here, a stop motion model maker and animator. Obviously, if you haven't been to my channel yet, what I do is I talk a bit about stop motion, my industry, and things relating to my industry. Obviously, I have experience in model making and children's entertainment, as well as sort of Games Workshop figures and model making in general, obviously. But obviously, my industry is stop motion. But today, I thought of talking about something I've been kind of looking into recently, midway through the comic, a very famous X-Men comic, God Loves, Man Kills, which is kind of X-Men 2 is based off of. So yeah, I feel like talking about X-Men today. Obviously, it doesn't relate hugely to the stop motion industry. It doesn't have any stop motion as far as I can remember in any of the films. I'll be, I think, mainly talking about the movies, but obviously maybe later I can go specific into specific films, thoughts on them. Yeah, for the moment, just the general series. Yeah, I mean, stop motion wise, it's I suppose it's colourful, isn't it? And stop motion tries to be. My experience of successful stop motion is fairly vibrant. It's kind of a waste of the medium if you're not gonna, play with character designs and all the rest of it. But I think that the similarities kind of end there. Yeah, I mean, in regards to my industry, I guess it'd be difficult to do an X-Men film because it's easier to do films with limited characters, and visually it gets a bit exhausting. It's much more enjoyable, I find, to watch stop-motion films like Wallace and Gromit's, which one was it? The second one, the Wrong Trousers. It's much more enjoyable to watch that, I find, than, some CGI movies with like tens of 20, 30 main characters, a lot of ensemble casts, because it's kind of just exhausting. You just have all these different characters and faces, unless they kind of have a stylistic look. And yeah, it just gets exhausting if you're looking at a new interesting face all the time, caricatured face. You're just trying to limit it to this character and this character and this character. I don't know, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule for various reasons, but at least, yeah, for stop motion it would have to be a massively budgeted movie, to have that many characters, really, and it'd be a waste of the medium because obviously in I don't know, it seems like they have so many skills, the X-Men, that to show it off or show off all their skills, you'd have to do a lot of CG. And when you're going down that route, it's like, there's a part of you that thinks maybe they should just make a 2D animated film or a CG animated film if they're going to do so much of it in 2D or CG anyway. Kind of defeats, in some ways can defeat the purpose, depending on how the film's made. I think sometimes it can, it's a bit of a shame. I quite enjoy stop motion films that stay in that medium. And if there is another element, if it works for the story, go for it. Some of these stop motion films that come out these days can be a bit too, there's so much CG. It's unless it's connected to the story itself, as to why there's so much CG, it's just what I mean that by saying that is like films like Jurassic Park have, like, for example, there's the CG dinosaurs, but the way let's say the archaeology, is it the archaeologists? I've got this wrong, paleontologists. Why they're dealing with this new technology and the fact that humans can now create dinosaurs. That's it's the fact that dinosaurs are CG kind of works for the actual story because that's what's happening in real life. In real life, this new CG technology is coming in and it looks real, and it is almost real, but it can go awry, as maybe we find more recently in CG movies. They're kind of going a bit crazy, being a bit silly and losing the character or the humanity, you could say, the same way the dinosaurs take over and eat the humans. You could say destroy the humans, destroy the humanity, whatever. I don't know, maybe I'm looking into it too much, but there does seem to be a very real connection for me to the reality of what that film is and what that film's trying to say. It's just about, obviously dinosaurs coming back and being careful about, doing stuff and respecting reality you're living in. I thought that was really interesting how both the making of the film and the film itself is, on the story of the film, are closely, I feel, in many ways can be seen as being interlinked. And obviously you can say, well, personally, I think some of the best CG ever done is, I'd say, in the Tyrannosaurus, breakout scene with the two cars. I mean, I watch that to this day and it's like, honestly, it's real, some of those shots, and maybe it's just nostalgia. It could be just, nostalgia, but no, that's how I like to see it. Anyways, I was supposed to be talking about X-Men, but I'm talking about way films are made. Look, this channel is just me experimenting for the moment. Obviously, maybe in years' time, this can be just sort of the silly beginning phase of me trying to figure out what this channel is, but bear with me. I'll find my feet. If you like me talking about certain things, let me know and talk about that more. But yeah, anyway, if stop motion film was done now of the X-Men and they had all this CGI special effects for all the clawing and stuff, it doesn't work for what the story of what X-Men is, I don't think, and what it's trying to say as a film. I feel like the story of what the making of the film needs to be connected in some way to what the film is in some way, because it connects the performers to their characters more, I think, and you can see that in the characters of obviously Sam Neill's Alan Grant. Sam Neill was performing to these fake, obviously these puppets or these imaginary monsters, obviously, which will be CG and put in place later, and he's reacting to that, and he's reacting to almost the fact that we now have built this technology, and it's anticipation of seeing what they can do. And I'm sure he had some awareness that we could do some really amazing stuff, but I don't know, I feel like some of that can bleed through into the character, which is kind of cool, and kind of gives it a context, not just the character, but I think puts everyone on the same page. I think everyone in the Jurassic Park crew kind of knew, they knew what kind of film they were making. They knew what beats to hit, because they were experiencing those beats, the beats of this new technology coming in that creates these incredible things that look real, but are they real and are they dangerous? What is the danger of this new technology? You can see that with CG, and you can see that with the power of that technology of making things that are looking so real. It's like you can lose your grip on reality, and you can see that in dinosaurs being amazing and cool, but they can kill you and eat you. And anyway, back to the X-Men. So yeah, my thoughts on the X-Men franchise. Not obviously Jurassic Park, I could talk about another time, but X-Men, try and stay on topic. It's fairly cool. I think it starts off stronger and then it kind of wanes as they go along. The way I see the films, I feel, for me, the first three really are kind of what the X-Men franchise is to me. They're the first three films. I mean, the first two strongest, arguably, and then the third one's like a bit weaker, but it kind of wraps up where the characters are heading in the first two. But then most trilogies work like that. The with the exception, I think, of Return of the King, a lot of trilogies and movies, kind of the third one's more just the wrap-up one that kind of sends the characters off. You've kind of got the first act, the first film, which sets up the characters, second one, which has them go off in various directions and do some interesting stuff, and then the third one kind of ties up all the knots. But, in 2 hours, when you've got all these interesting characters, you're going to, most of the time, just going to be tying off knots, and, it's just going to be a kind of muchness most of the time. Again, I'd say an exception of Return of the King, but for me, a lot of films are that way for trilogies, in my experience. But yeah, the X-Men's, I kind of feel like there's the first three. They kind of exist in one universe. And then there's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which almost exists. In fact, often I can kind of consider it depending on what day I'm feeling. If I watch Wolverine, I can go, okay, maybe it's the same universe, or it kind of almost feels like was it Elseworld universe or whatever they call it? I forget what they call it, but like a different universe version of the character sometimes. Yeah, the main thing about Wolverine I didn't like was the Stryker character, who was who was actually in the book I'm reading now, God Loves Man Kills, the X-Men comic. He's more fleshed out, his kind of character and his reasonings. He's better in the film than in the comic. He has more of a grounding, more of a relatability, and that I think a lot comes from the actor. Did a really great job. I should know his name. I'll look it up now. But yeah, he's probably the best villain in all of them, because he's got a reality to him. He just seems like someone who was hurt by mutants, and he's kind of got a vendetta against them, so that's a bit stronger than some of the others. I can't bloody find his name anyway. I'm looking along here, it's like gone. Oh, there he is. He is called Brian Cox. Yeah, Brian Cox. Great job. I think a Scottish actor. I can't remember if he was doing an American accent in the film. Sort of a couple of months ago, but yeah, because I know in the Wolverine it was like he was just like an army sergeant, full on American bad army sergeant, and I've just seen that done so many times, and it was a shame because he was such an interesting character, similar to Magneto, in that you could relate to him. You didn't just think, oh, he needs to be killed. You just thought, well, yeah, okay, maybe he needs to be killed, of course, but at the same time, you think, yeah, it's a shame. In a different universe, maybe he could have been one of the goodies. Yeah, that's what I liked about X2. Wolverine kind of destroyed his character. They just made him out to be just a full on evil villain, no likability to him whatsoever. But, hey, it's more of a comic book movie. I really didn't like Wolverine. Was it X-Men Origins Wolverine when it first came out? But I don't know. I've grown to like it a bit. It's sort of like a silly Shane Black movie from like the Lethal Weapons, or Last Boy Scout. It's just a guy taking on the world, and kind of crap happens to him, but he just gets through it, and he just moves on with his bloody life. It's I like that part of the story. I like the essence of the film, which that is, I suppose, the essence of the film. Whereas the other movies, I don't know, like a lot of the X movies about, we work well as a team. We need to work well as a team. And it's a bit team. Yeah, it's about just them working as a team. I quite like the independent heroes, Spider-Man and Wolverine, as independent characters. One of the reasons I think the first one I quite liked in many ways is that Wolverine's independent, Rogue's quite independent, and at the end of the movie, and you think, oh, Wolverine's going to be all one of the gang, now, and he's just off on Cyclops' bike. It's great. It's a great ending. It's like good. He did what he needed to do for Rogue, and then he just went off on his own. That was great. I love that element. I quite like stories like that. They have an individual's perspective. They're not too groupy, all about the team, all about the group. I quite like Incredibles for that reason. I think it's a great team movie because it is about each of the characters. I don't know. There's a reason for them to be together other than it's like a cool school, I guess, Look, I was homeschooled, so obviously I'm going to like films like Incredibles because I'll relate to them. But, that kind of cool school, it's like, I suppose they have their mutants and they can get on together and stuff, and that's cool. Kind of, it's hard. I suppose it's hard as a filmmaker to have all these characters with superpowers and write them well together. You can see that really well written was the second one. Obviously, it worked really quite well, really strong, and I think it was helped by having the wealth of the comic books behind them, and kind of they were able to cherry pick some of the best elements from. I think a lot of the second one is from the comic I'm reading. Obviously, God Loves, Man Kills, and yeah, they've kind of cherry picked the best bits and kind of got rid of a bit of the cheesy bits, and they kind of knew what they were trying to do, and they could basically hand a graphic novel to all the cast to give the cast a good idea of what kind of story they're telling, and that's always good. I think films sometimes suffer today from I don't know. I feel like people don't know what kind of film they're making, and everyone's kind of got a different idea, and it's like, oh, I kind of like what the actor's going for there, the kind of film they want to make, but I don't think the director does, or the director does, but the actor doesn't, and the music, the script writer, or the screenwriter, or the composer, they're on different playing fields, or they're trying to tell different stories. But anyway, so back to X-Men, trying to stay on topic. Yeah. Watching them again, I have to say I'm much more forgiving of Wolverine and The Last Stand, which originally I really didn't like. I thought the second one was the best, but now I kind of enjoy the second one the least. Now I have to say it's one of the best movie of them probably is X2, but for enjoyment factor, I quite like I like the morals, I think, of X-Men 2 and maybe Wolverine, and in some ways The Last Stand. There's more of an independent person, so probably that's why it's more of the Wolverine and the first X-Men. The third one has just, I think, the best soundtrack. Looking back on them, I've got the music on my playlist on YouTube. I'd say the third has definitely the strongest soundtrack. Really great music going on there, epic music. It was just funny because around that time there was a lot of movies with kind of ends of trilogies with epic music. I mean, I think Revenge of the Sith had some really kind of the film was like a good science fiction. It wasn't a class. I don't think it's quite a classic movie, but it's definitely a classic of my generation. But maybe in 1,000 years' time, it wouldn't be as classic as obviously the original trilogy. But the music was outstanding. I thought, really kind of taking on a lot of. Was it Wagner? Was it not James Horner? Is it? No, it's John Williams. It was. I feel like he took a bit from Tristan and Isolde's Wagner, because I listened to that recently on Melancholia, and I think he just nicked some of that because it has that tragedy kind of the same motifs, similar motifs. Anyway, back to X-Men. Stay on topic. So yeah, I'm not sure how much longer I want to talk about this because I've been talking for a while. But and I'll wrap it up by saying that the final ones, I'd say the final four. There's I'm talking about the first four. No, the final six. The Wolverine, obviously, the sequel, which is to the Wolverine. It gets confusing. To Wolverine Origins. Yeah, it was good enough film. It kind of hit all the same notes I'd seen before in other films at that point. But I should give it another watch. I haven't seen it in a while. What else? So there was obviously the kind of prequel 4 movies, quadrilogy, would you say, call it? And then Logan. I haven't seen Logan yet, I have to confess, and maybe I'll do another video talking about Logan if I want to see it. And the final X-Men movie, what was it called? Dark Phoenix. I haven't seen that one yet, but I'll have to just get round to it and buy it. They haven't come out on Amazon or anything, and I'm kind of a cheapskate at the moment, and I can't be asked buying them. I should get them for Christmas at some point, but it is what it is. But those films were good, but they felt like Elseworld stories. They didn't feel connected to the original 3 fully. I mean, there was some, obviously you could say, connections with Days of Future Past. Maybe I should give them another watch. I've just seen them quite a few times. I worked at a cinema and I had to watch, especially the First Class. I saw that a few times, so I kind of just felt like I was sort of done with that series because I just seen it. I overwatched them, to be honest, from working at the cinema. Yeah. They're good, I guess. Not as strong. There wasn't a strong backbone that the first 3 had. Yeah. A lot of the things I don't like about X-Men, the over kind of we're working as a team and we like working. It's a bit Disney Channel-esque. It's a bit like we need to work. It's not doesn't cut deeper, which I felt like the first 3, at least the first and second. In some ways, the third did, which was cool. Wolverine Origins kind of attempted at, but just felt like it was a little bit here and there, probably due to various, issues on set. I felt like it had too much. It was biting off, in some ways, too much, but not. Yeah, it wanted to be several different films at the same time. Yeah, and you just would kind of flown around. But if you're just enjoying, just relaxing, just watching like a silly Lethal Weapon-y Shane Black movie, then it'll probably be the right kind of movie for you. But yeah, so wasn't too impressed with those ones. They were great. Some of them were entertaining enough, but it did lose some of that solidness of the first 3. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the X-Men franchise. So this is, as I said, just an experiment. I'm just playing with ideas, talking on YouTube. If you like me talking about certain elements, I'll talk about them more. It's a good enough series. I do prefer the individual characters, like a character like Wolverine or Rogue or Storm. If they gave them a solo movie, I'd maybe be more interested in seeing that and having the other X-Men as other characters kind of helping out. But I don't know, as an ensemble piece, I'm not often a fan of a lot of ensemble movies. So sometimes I am. It depends what the story is, but the story doesn't seem any deeper than the super cool school for the super cool people who are also really nice, but they're also cool, and it's the cool school. And it's like, it'd be cool to see. I don't know, like for me, if I was going to make a film or write an X-Men story, I'd want to write about the X-Men who've kind of finished up on the school and they're just working and using their superpowers to do a job, a regular job. They build a little business and they're like, hey, I'm the world's best plumber because I can, move plumb metal, or something, Magneto the plumber or something. It gives you an idea of the kind of person I am if, I'm going to be making Magneto the plumber film. But I don't know. Play with these. Incredibles did it. Incredibles basically did everything I kind of wanted to see in movies. I feel like at least the first one. The second one suffers for the similar X-Men issues of you just add so many more characters. It's like it loses its foundation. And also as stories, you could tell a really interesting story, I feel like, with I mean, it was dealt with all these interesting issues of like, okay, what would humans do if there was this superhuman mutant race? But it didn't explore it that much. It was like, oh, the bad guys want to kill them, and it was just simple as the bad guys want to kill them, and everyone needs to be nice. The bad guys want to kill them, and everyone needs to be nice. And sometimes, I find in reality, it's just be more nuanced than that. You'd have people want to kill them. There'll be some people who, I don't know, be saying, oh well, we should all be mutants. Be similar to Incredibles, where you have a character that wants to make everyone mutants. There's a character that says maybe there's a rule, we want to create a country that wants to create a law where all mutants have to marry a non-mutant to disperse the genetics amongst everyone, so eventually everyone will be super powered, so then it won't be unfair if someone has superpowers and is able to just kill everyone with a click of their fingers. There's other people to, and you can see, there's so many interesting stories that X-Men just doesn't explore. It doesn't explore a superpowered person becoming, in this universe of mutants, like they become a cop, but then they could become a corrupt cop who could be a good guy. How would you fight an evil villain? Well, you have a superhero cop force, maybe, but I don't know. It doesn't fully extend the universe to the realities of, I feel, what a world would be like if there were mutants that had these extreme powers. It kind of half goes there and then goes back to we're the cool school, we're the people from the cool school, and why can't people just let us be the cool school? It's like, there's good stuff in there. You especially see that in the first couple, but it's such an interesting idea. It could expand to much greater heights, and it is a bit clubby. The X-Men are all superpowered people and they live at the school, and the reality of the universe they want to create is a universe where regular people and X-Men kind of are able to function together and deal with their issues and whatever, and the fundamental image of the X-Men is the super cool school. It's the super cool people from the super cool place. It's like, maybe just a couple of cool X-Men people who are just working alongside regular people and struggling along, and some days it's a big horrific threat of destruction, and other days it'll be a completely different thing. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was pretty cool, and Angel I thought was great in that they dealt with that. Angel, I think, especially dealt with maybe the issues that X-Men failed to. You have a super powered people, and you have regular people kind of working together, and the regular people, the characters that work for Angel, who's like a vampire with a soul with superhuman powers. People work for them. Some people who work for Angel don't like him because he may have killed someone they knew, or he's a vampire. They don't like vampires, but they still work for him because they know he's a good guy. There's more interesting play, and each episode has a completely different issue, whereas X-Men seems to be just being mean to mutants is bad, and that's the same story, and it's a good story. It's a great story, but then you have to make different stories with different films of different villains and stuff, which I think Angel and Buffy did in many ways. But anyway, I'll wrap this up now. That's my thoughts on X-Men. Please, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed. And let me know what you prefer me to talk about, and I might try and focus on that. Right, take it easy.